Cheers. Stunning. Little lemonade. Hello everyone, I'm Eden-Olivia. Welcome to my YouTube channel if you're new here. If you're not, welcome back. Thanks for coming. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books I've read in August. We're going to start off with Biblical Prosperity. I've actually reread a couple of books, I think maybe 2 books this month. So we're going to start off with Biblical Prosperity by Derek Walker. This book I actually read for the first time last year, I think December, and I feel like I've said it throughout this entire year. I'm in my saving season and I thought, you know what, I need a bit of biblical wisdom on how to save and what I should be doing with my money. So I decided to read this book and it was great. I loved, I think, let me find the page. Oh yeah, it's on page 9. It talks about the pirates of Cilicia. I don't know, but often in the Bible it talks about like strongholds. And one thing I've loved about this book, the first time I read it and the second time round, is it literally explains what a stronghold is, like with the pirates back in the day, and how, who was it? The Senate in Rome decided that they were going to destroy the pirate stronghold. And it explains how they did that. And then it just gave me clarity on what a stronghold is and how it can like build in your mind. I loved how in this book as well, it spoke about like tithes, faith when it comes to money, first fruits. There was a lot of wisdom. Also, I think it was page 31. I loved this quote. If you realise it's the Lord's money and it's just on loan to you and one day you'll give an account for it, that will change your whole perception on how you should use that money. So true. Because, you know, we're in this little world, living our little lives, but we need to be faithful with what we've got now so that in the future to come, we're living our best lives still. So yeah, this book really helped me just get more clarity, understanding, wisdom, and it reminded me of what I know about the word and like biblical prosperity and what I should be doing with my money. And at the bottom it says, a balanced guide to God's financial plan for your life. So yeah, spend some money now, but also save. Be wise. But I would give this a 4 out of 5. Loved it. Will reread it again. Anytime I feel like I need some more clarity on biblical prosperity, I would definitely read this book. The second book I listened to, this is on Spotify, Do What Jesus Did by Robbie Dawkins. It was a book of the month at church. Loved this book. It literally begins with this man talking about how he like preached to gangsters like in the area of where he lived. I was hooked, let me tell you that right now. I don't know why, this book really surprised me. I didn't think I would be as obsessed with it as I would. Really enjoyed it. I literally couldn't wait to go like on my lunchtime walk at work so that I could listen to the book. It was great. Also, I love how there was just so much information about him and his walk with God, and even his son, bless him, and his son was like younger and he was on church praying for someone and he got his son to come up, the little boy, to pray. So cute. Just showed you like the power of family unity and like teaching your kids the right things to do. And I loved how in this book it said, like, I can't remember what exactly the quote was, but it was something like, love people, don't focus on their wrongs. What would Jesus do? He was never like looking at people's faults, accusing them, putting them down. He was always loving people, and that's what we should all do. 4 out of 5 from me. Would definitely reread. And you know, like at the end when you feel really motivated and like, yes, let's do this. It was that kind of vibe. So yeah, would recommend. So the third book I read, One Flesh, is by Bob Yandian. I really like this book. There's so many, I mean, there's 9 chapters. Like chapter 1, in the beginning there was godly passion. And then there's like, are singles complete? The labour of love. God has called you to peace. I feel like there was so much information on like dating, being married, wisdom in relationships. And even if you're single now, like, and you want to get married and, you know, that's going to happen. Like thinking ahead, don't always wait until you're in that season of your life to be like, oh, I wish I'd done. Well, you can do it now and learn now before you get there. And one thing, like one of the things that really stood out for me was that when you're out of God's will, it's easy to like yield to your flesh, like yield to your human natural desire. And it reminds me of David and Bathsheba in the Bible. Basically, David was the king. And literally in the Bible, it literally says at the time where the kings usually go out to war with, you know, their people, David was indoors, literally on the balcony looking out, and then he saw Bathsheba, who's a married woman, having a bath. Then he had an affair with her, killed her husband. There was a lot that went on. But if he had like been doing what he should have been doing, if he was in God's will out at war with the rest of the people, that wouldn't have happened. But when you're not in God's will, when you're not doing what you should be doing, it's very easy to start doing the wrong thing. So yeah, that's one thing I really took from it. 4 out of 5 from me. I got a lot from it and I would reread and recommend. Then I read another good book. This book is called The Hidden Power of Prayer and Fasting by Mahesh Shavda, I think. This was a good book, all about literally prayer and fasting. I liked how it was laid out, very spacious. We love a book with space, you know. There were so many testimonies in here and experiences that he's gone through that you're like, oh wow. It spoke about like biblical examples of prayer and fasting, Esther, Jesus, there was loads in there. It goes through like the different types of fasts, like biblical fasts as well, which was really interesting. And I like that it stressed that like fasting isn't going to change God, but it will change you, like prayer and fasting. It's not just fasting like what everyone else does. There's importance to have prayer and fasting together. Did enjoy this book. Again, it's another book that was on the bookshelf and I thought, I want to read that book, and I thought in August, this is the time. We're finally going to read the book, so enjoyed that. 4 out of 5 from me. Would recommend, would reread. So the 5th book I listened to was Untangle Your Emotions by Jenny Allen. I really enjoyed this book. This was also a 4 out of 5. What I loved about it is often we can think, you know, your emotions are the worst, but I liked how she expressed how important it is to cry, to express your emotions. There's nothing wrong with your emotions, and often your emotions can tell you something you need to know, so I really enjoyed that. I also like that she pointed out that like if you believe in something, even if it's not true, it can literally like dictate and transform your emotions, which is so interesting, isn't it? You know, like sometimes you do believe a lie and like it ruins the whole of your day, or for example you feel like you're going to be late for something, or you feel anxious for something, and then, you know, it turns out that nothing bad even happened and you're like, I've wasted all this time, all this energy, all these emotions on nothing. The book really helped me with that. What I really liked as well, she reminded me of, it's either Elijah or Elisha in the Bible, who literally, you know, defeats, what's her name? Jezebel and her husband's gods and stuff. And then he runs into the desert because she's like, you're going to die. And then, you know, he's literally like, God, just kill me. And then the angel's like, eat and have a nap. And he does, and he feels better. And even in the audiobook, it just reminds you of the importance of sleeping, eating, like the basic things our bodies need. Often we're getting like 5 hours sleep, we're not really eating well, and then we wonder why we feel awful. Honey, eat well and sleep well and you'll be fine. Sometimes you just need a little nap. So that is a sign from me to you and me to me. Sometimes just have a nap. Sometimes just have a nice little snack, a healthy meal will change the game. And then the last thing I really got from this book was, I have thought this, and I read it in another book. I think I read it in a book in 2022. I think it was called Excellence. And it speaks about like how we consume, like for example, we watch so many like action film. I mean, I love an action film. We watch so many action films and stuff where, you know, you're seeing death, you're seeing violence and stuff. And then it does actually desensitize you. And in this book, Untangle Your Emotions, she explains the science of it. I do wonder how desensitized we are to things because of how much TikTok and social media and TV and films we consume, even like books we read, like fictional ones. Yeah, it's interesting. And you know, like sometimes you'll be scrolling on TikTok, for example, and you see like a prank or something really emotional, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And then I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't even think this is real. This is all set up. And it might be set up, but yeah, just this book really reminded me that we do become desensitized to stuff because we're just so used to seeing it constantly on social media, in books, in TVs and films. But the amount of things we've seen in TVs and films that we shouldn't ever see ever, like people drowning and death and, you know, buildings going down and stuff, like we shouldn't see that. We shouldn't be able to watch a film and be like, this is unrealistic. We've never even seen it in real life. So yeah, really enjoyed that book. Kind of off topic, but yeah, this book really helped me like open my mind up, helped me think, is this helping me in my life? So yeah, 4 out of 5 from me. Would recommend. And then the final book I read, the 6th book of the month, I reread this. I've read this book, I think I read this book in 2022, at the end of 2022. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is just, it was a good read. It was, as soon as I read it the first time, I knew I'd want to read it again, and I have. It's all about habits and how to build them. And one thing I've really got from it the first time I read it and the second time I read it is the 1% theory, where instead of trying to go from 0 to 100, you just try and improve 1% every single day. And then he explains in the book how, like, you know, like for example, you're like, right, on Monday I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week, I'm going to only eat healthy food, I'm going to cancel social media, I'm going to do gets to Tuesday and you're like, I can't do this, so you just stop, you quit. A few months later you try it again. Circle, repeats. Or according to the 1% theory, you can do little things like, do you know what, tomorrow I am going to go on a lunchtime walk at work. I'm gonna do 5 push-ups in the morning. I'm gonna make my bed. You just start with something little, and then every day you just add a little something, a little 1%. And then by the end of the month, you're in a bit of a habit. Maybe you're not going to the gym 5 times a week, but at least you're doing something. There were so many interesting little, like mini stories. Even for example, when it explains like the modern food industry. So most things that are healthy for us, like cow, cabbage, fruit and veg, they have the same kind of texture throughout, the same taste. You're eating it, and then because it's quite boring, your body's like, you're full. Like your body knows when you're actually full. Whereas fast food and processed food, they like make food that isn't natural. So even like chips, for example, when it's all crunchy on the outside but soft on the inside, those two like different kinds of textures our body loves. Like every chew, it's like something new. So you just keep eating and eating and eating, even when you're full. It's just little things like that where it's not anything to do with a habit necessarily, but it was an interesting, fun little fact. Loved that. And then there's just a few little highlights I wanted to read out. Starting on page 39. This is what I really loved. He really stressed the emphasis on who do you want to be. This is literally the words he says. First, decide who you want to be. This holds at any level, as an individual, as a team, as a community, as a nation. What do you want to stand for? What are your principles and values? What do you wish to become? These are big questions, and many people aren't sure where to begin, but they do know what kind of results they want: to get 6-pack abs, or to feel less anxious, or to double their salary. That's fine. Start there and work backwards from the results you want to the type of person who could get those results. Ask yourself, who is the type of person that could get the outcome I want? Love. And then the second one was on page 234. This is one thing as well. It really reminded me of like in the Bible where we have a spirit, we have a soul, we dwell in a body. So sometimes you don't want to do something, but you need to do it. And it's like overcoming that mindset. Your flesh doesn't want to do it. You need to renew your soul because your spirit does want to do it. Do you know what I mean? So on page 234, it says, really successful people feel the same lack of motivation as everyone else. The difference is that they still find a way to show up despite the feeling of boredom. It's so true as well. Like whenever I listen to podcasts or interviews of like billionaires or millionaires or really successful people, not necessarily really rich people, but just successful people, they just have this inner, it needs to be done. Like if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Even last month when I read Shoe Dog, just that like whole motivation, and even when the feeling isn't there, you just carry on going. You can learn a lot from these kind of people. So yeah, really enjoyed that book. 4 out of 5 from me. Would reread again. Always recommend. They are the 6 books I read, 4 physical books, and then I had the 2 audio books. Again, I say every time I do one of these videos, shout out to Spotify, honestly. Without Spotify, I wouldn't get through half the books I do. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I love ya, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!